Hello everyone, and welcome to Hill Street. Today's story is, I fell asleep in class. It'll never happen again. If you end up enjoying this story, please leave a like. And if you enjoy hearing stories from me, please subscribe and become a resident of Hill Street and let me know how I'm doing in the comments. Now, let's get to this nightmare. I'm in class. We're talking about scary short story writing, or something like that. I'm not really sure. I'm so tired. Maybe I can just rest my head for a little, just until the bell rings. I put my head down on the desk, and soon enough, I wasn't just resting my eyes. I full on passed out in my English class. I woke up to a dark, empty classroom. That's weird, I said to myself, looking around. You would think they'd wake me up, or the bell would have woken me. I stood up and picked my bag up, planning on just leaving. This place really does look creepy after hours, I said, looking down the darkened hallway. I have this weird feeling in my stomach. I feel like I shouldn't be here, but it's true. I really shouldn't be. I should be at home. My parents are probably wondering where I've been anyways. I opened my phone to send them a text that I was on my way. The time read 8:17 p.m. How did I sleep that long? How did no one wake me up or come looking for me? I questioned while going through my contacts. I found my mom's number and sent her a text that I was on my way home and got held up after class. Sending error popped up beside my message. No signal. How? I asked, confused. Whatever. Stupid phone company. I should have switched last week, I said, annoyed. I just need to get to the exit, and once I'm outside, it should send. Upon getting to the entrance, the doors were locked. What the hell? I said, now getting a lot more annoyed than I was before. I slammed on the door, thinking it could be stuck or something. No budge. They must have locked the doors already, but they should still be open from the inside, I thought, before giving up on that door. I walked around, trying a few more different doors. Same thing. There's no way I actually just got locked in my own school, I laughed to myself. It really was like something out of a terrible joke. I decided I'd try to check the office. Maybe someone else was staying late here. I walked into the office and looked around. Empty. I checked the separate rooms, and no one was there. I looked over to the announcement system. Surely, if someone is here, they'll hear me over that, I thought, and walked over to it. I pressed some of the buttons until I heard the beep from the speakers outside of the office that goes through the whole school. Hello? Is anyone else here? I'm sorry to be a bother, but all the doors are locked, and I need to get home, I explained, half expecting someone to pop up or call the office to help me out. But nothing. No response. I sat down in the chair, hungry and still tired. I dug into my bag and pulled out some fruit snacks. Nice. If I knew I'd be locked in here, I would have packed some actual food, I said as I ate the fruit snacks. When I was done, I found myself getting really tired again, fighting the urge to fall asleep. I looked down the hall from where I was sitting. It was fairly dark, but I could faintly see. Still, no one was coming. I thought as I looked over to the other side of the hall. But quickly, I looked back as I saw someone in the corner of my eye turning down the hallway. Finally, I said under my breath, looking towards the person, but they were gone. "Hey, come back!" I yelled down the hall at them, but nobody returned. So much for staff who care. I rolled my eyes and stood up, speed walking down the hall towards the figure I'd seen there only a few moments ago. As I reached the end of the hall that I saw them at, the strong scent of old floral perfume filled my lungs. I had to catch my breath for a second. "That perfume she had on is so strong," I said, looking down each hall to try to see where she had gone. "The lavender tones to it aren't helping with the sleep I'm fighting off either." I followed the perfume smell until it led me to a classroom. I looked into the door, and there she was, just sitting there with her head facing down at a desk in the middle of the dark classroom. Without me even making a sound, she looked up at me. Immediately, I got a terrible gut-wrench feeling, as though someone had just stabbed me right in my stomach. This wasn't any other student I'd seen before. Her hair was dark and messy, as if she had just gotten out of bed. Her eyes were dark and empty, pale skin, as though she hadn't had any source of light in centuries. An old dirty nightgown hung loosely over her frail-looking body. To add an extra turn to the knife I could already feel deep inside me. She silently smiled at me from her seat and pulled the chair next to her out, inviting me to come sit next to her. That's when I saw it, the dirty knife sitting there on the desk in front of her, and a new clean one in the seat next to her. I started backing away from the door. My gut was telling me to run, but something about her wouldn't let me move. She slowly stood up, picking the knife up with her, and began walking towards the door. "I'm screwed. I'm going to die here, out of all places," I thought to myself as she approached the door, dragging the knife across the glass on the window of the door. The screeching noise it made as she did that managed to knock some sense back into my shaking body, and I made a run for it, darting down the hall faster than I had ever ran before. Hey, if I make it out of here, the track team could really use me, I thought as I ran past the dull-looking trophy case. I went back into the main office and hid under the desk. "There's no way this is real," I whispered, my voice shaking from fear. Steps began approaching from down the hallway. I could hear her dragging her blade across the lockers and doors in between them. I knew she was looking for me. She wants me to die here, whether she's already dead or not. There's no way I was going to join her. I refused to die in a school. My heart raced faster and faster as the footsteps got closer and closer. I could hear her softly singing a faint tune that sounded so familiar. Lullaby and goodnight, with roses bestride, she sang. Brian's lullaby, I whispered to myself. My mother used to sing that to me when I was a child. As her soft lullaby grew closer and she arrived at the office doorway, I could smell her strong perfume once again. Never in my life had I ever prayed to be dreaming, but this felt all too real to be that. The mellow lullaby she sang, mixed with the lavender-entwined floral perfume, made it harder and harder to fight off the sleep which my body was aching for. As she made her way around the office area, the lullaby came to an end. The silence was stiff, and the sound of my heart beating rapidly filled my ears. "Come on, you can fall asleep after you come out," she said. Her voice was so beautiful and soft, like your favorite blanket from when you were a child. I felt drawn in, the thought of sleeping and hearing her sweet lullaby again. It felt all too appealing to my sleep-deprived mind. Her pause didn't last long. We have all of eternity to rest here, somewhere between life and death, purgatory, a netherworld. She finished and began humming the lullaby once again. Am I really going to be stuck here forever? The thought killed me inside, but I could also find comfort in it. No more stress, just her and I here, all the time in the world to sleep, to be at peace, no more worries. No, I told myself. I have a life, friends, family, whether it comes with stress, less sleep, worries. I don't care. Dying here is giving in, and I refuse to give in. This life is tempting, but my own is one unwritten and unlived. I'm still young. I must get out of here, I said, as I leaned out from my hiding place and looked around the room. There she was in the hall. She had begun her search again, as well as singing the lullaby once more. I picked my bag up and quietly started to leave the office area, going in the opposite direction as her. I still had no plan. The doors clearly weren't an option, and no one was coming to save me. This isn't real life. It can't be. Real life doesn't have ghostly-looking girls who sing lullabies and ask you to stay with them in another world for eternity. As I walked down the hallway, I tripped over my own shoelace. The keychains on my bag made a loud jingle noise, and the faint lullaby came to a stop. I felt my heart drops once again, as any ounce of hope I had left of surviving this nightmare left my body. I turned and looked over at her. She was staring back at me, her empty, tired eyes burning into me. This is it, I thought as she approached me once more, the knife in her hand glinting in the darkness. My feet felt like 2 cement bricks on the hall floors, unable to move, speak, do anything to save myself from this terrifying, soul-enticing creature. She's within arm's reach now. My death slowly coming closer. Don't be afraid, she said hauntingly. It'll only hurt for a second. Then you can sleep as long as you would like. We can be here forever, together. Her words were chilling, but also felt like a deep hug. I tried to bring myself to speak, to tell her I couldn't stay here, that it wasn't my time to join her here. As illustrious of a temptress she was, I wouldn't give in to her offers, but nothing came out. You don't wish to stay here with me, she said while raising her knife. But leaving isn't an option. I can't let you go. I'm sorry, she finished as she brought the knife across my throat. For a moment, it felt as if I could see sadness in those empty eyes, as though she was genuinely sorry. But if she was, then how could she bring me to this sort of death? It didn't matter now anyways. There was no stopping this. I closed my eyes and let death engulf me. I felt a hand on my shoulder, shaking me. I opened my eyes and my body shot up, gasping for air. "Whoa, are you okay?" my friend asked me, concerned. "You look as if you've seen a ghost," she laughed. I looked around the room. I was back in my English class, surrounded by my classmates. "Careful falling asleep in class," she said. "You'll end up like the girl from Mr. Scabay's story," she said spookily, as if she were a part of some haunted house. "What story?" I asked her, confused and coming out of my deep sleep. "The one he just told? You must have been asleep. Apparently years ago some girl fell asleep in class too much, and one day, as some sick joke, they all just left her in school and locked the doors," she told me, coming in closer. "She ended up dying here because no one remembered to come back for her. They found her body when they came back from the break," she finished. I looked at her. "Do you think it's real?" I asked her. She scoffed. "Are you serious?" she asked me, looking at me, though I had just proposed some outlandish question. "Mr. Scabay is getting old. He's just losing it a little, I think. He claims he can still smell her perfume in the hall some days," she said, looking over at the older man. I laughed a little. "Yeah, must be some tale he made up to scare kids out of falling asleep during his boring class," I said, and stood up as the bell rang, walking into the hall with her. That smell, the same perfume from the dream, if you can call it that. "Are you good?" she asked, looking at me. "God, you really need to get more sleep," she said. I didn't reply. I'm too lost in my own thoughts. It's been a few weeks since my encounter with that ghost girl and the nightmare I had in that class. I haven't fallen asleep in class since. Hell, I've barely slept since. When I do, all I can hear is her lullaby, and I wake up choking in her strong perfume. I can't tell if I ever really woke up, or if this is just my mind playing things out after I died to her blade. Real or not, it's better than being stuck there for eternity. One day, I may end up joining her. Until then, I'm choosing not to let my doubt of realness affect my life. Is there really any reason to believe this life is less valuable if it isn't real? If I cannot know the difference.